much we focus on the capital, on the union capital, let's go to this big story. Viewers, Times Now's week-long investigation into Kejriwal's rupees 45 crore perk at the height of the pandemic, when you were gasping for oxygen, has reached a critical stage with a damning new disclosure that confirms that the party is drifting from its core philosophy. It isn't just about upgrading a house anymore. It's much bigger than this. It's about intent. It's about ethics. It's about commitment, and more than anything else, it is about propriety. I want you to listen to Mr. Kejriwal from 2014. At that point, he won a lot of support because he vowed a new, clean politics, free from VVIP self-aggrandizement. He was the muffler man. He could have been painted by R.K. Lakshman. He rode in a Wagoner. He promised liberation from corruption, and most importantly, from arrogant elitism. It was like almost a breath of fresh air. He traveled like all of us in commercial airliners. He looked like us, he walked like us, he talked like us. Remember this Kejriwal, 2014, and look at what he said.
कल से जिस घर में मैं शिफ्ट हो रहा हूँ उस घर को लेके काफ़ी कंट्रोवर्सी हो रही है और वैसे तो जिस घर में मैं जा रहा हूँ एक 5 कमरे का घर है, लेकिन कल से मेरे कई चाहने वाले, मेरे दोस्त और हमारे जो पार्टी के सपोर्टर्स हैं, उन लोगों के मेरे पास फ़ोन आए, उन लोगों के और जो जनता के भी फ़ोन आए, उनके मैसेजेस आए और उन्हें लगा कि मुझे ऐसे घर में नहीं जाना चाहिए। तो मैं ये दोनों घर छोड़ रहा हूँ और मैं सरकार को बोलूँगा कि वो मेरे लिए कोई और इससे भी छोटे घर ढूंढने की कोशिश करे। तब तक मैं गाजियाबाद से काम करूँगा। हमें तो वो कहते हैं ना सीजर्स वाइफ, तो वही वाली बात है, हमें तो उसके लिए तैयार रहना पड़ेगा। वी हैव टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दैट स्क्रूटिनी।
He didn't want to move in to a 5-room house, viewers, at that time, and he said, I'm going to stay in his home because I'm getting so many calls. अब आपको कितने फ़ोन आते होंगे केजरीवाल जी जब आप एक महल में रह रहे हैं? It's a fundamental question. He also said, viewers, if you heard Caesar's wife, he alluded to Caesar's wife. He says he wants to be held to greater scrutiny. It appears that Mr. Kejriwal, after spending 9 years in power, quite obviously believes he's above scrutiny. Why are we saying this? Because, viewers, we've discovered new information which runs totally contrary to the ethos of Mr. Kejriwal. The Mr. Kejriwal that charmed us in 2014 when he announced his great movement for change, as he called it. Earlier we told you how 45 crore rupees of taxpayers' money was splurged to rebuild the Chief Minister's house, even though the tender document clearly specified that the money was requisitioned only for a renovation. Clearly something changed. Why, we don't know. Was the change in the nature of the work even sanctioned? We don't know. If it was, why did the tender documents misrepresent the real picture of the scope of work? We don't know. If it wasn't sanctioned, then on whose authority was this reconstruction, this flattening out of his residence to build this massive palace done? We don't know. There are just no answers. Because Mr. Kejriwal thinks he's above scrutiny. While we await answers, though, and we're going to persist, we're going to continue to ask, we've learned that the construction being undertaken goes beyond building a palatial house for Mr. Kejriwal. Now, viewers, I have once again large number of documents. Documents which Times Now show you how AAP envisioned a massive chief ministerial complex by taking over the entire expanse of the entire Flagstaff Road, not just his own compound, a large number of compounds across the length and breadth of Flagstaff Road. Documents exclusively on Times Now reveal how orders were given to vacate 2 bungalows, 8 sarkari flats, some even flattened to the ground to be incorporated into the larger Chief Minister residential complex. This means the structure they are building would take the size of the development site from 4.75 acres to 7.2 acres, viewers. And what does this encompass? A park for Mr. Kejriwal, the Aam Aadmi, to walk in. Badminton courts for him to play. Huge lavatories, bathrooms, conference rooms, a whole host of things have been included along with the residence. Viewers, watch this. Documented evidence.
This is a story of the transformation of a humble Aam Aadmi to the Khaas ruler of Delhi Darbar. The man who once wore a humble muffler and drove around in a modest Wagoner today envisages himself as not just the Chief Minister but the Raja of Delhi. Let's remind you of the humility this Arvind Kejriwal displayed in 2012 when he was first elected to power.
कल से जिस घर में मैं शिफ्ट हो रहा हूँ उस घर को लेके काफ़ी कंट्रोवर्सी हो रही है और वैसे तो जिस घर में मैं जा रहा हूँ एक 5 कमरे का घर है, लेकिन कल से मेरे कई चाहने वाले, मेरे दोस्त और हमारे जो पार्टी के सपोर्टर्स हैं उन लोगों के मेरे पास फ़ोन आए, उन लोगों के और जो जनता के भी फ़ोन आए, उनके मैसेजेस आए और उन्हें लगा कि मुझे ऐसे घर में नहीं जाना चाहिए। सो मैं ये दोनों घर छोड़ रहा हूँ और मैं सरकार को बोलूँगा कि वो मेरे लिए कोई और इससे भी छोटे घर ढूंढने की कोशिश करे। तब तक मैं गाजियाबाद से काम करूँगा। हमें तो वो कहते हैं ना सीजर्स वाइफ, तो वही वाली बात है, हमें तो उसके लिए तैयार रहना पड़ेगा। वी हैव टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दैट स्क्रूटिनी।
But how did his ideals, the humility, get corrupted by power and a key to the public coffers? The project of vanity in the midst of a raging pandemic has been exposed by Times Network in Operation Sheesh Mahal. From the 45 crore opulence to the renovation not rebuilding farce, all of it has been exposed. Even an 800-year-old monument was raised to make a palatial bungalow for the DJB CEO. Today we tell you a story of unbound greed for personal aggrandizement, which runs totally contrary to the ethos of Mr. Kejriwal and his great movement for change, as he called it.
Let me show you. I'm currently standing outside the officers' flat 4547 Rajpur Road, Delhi, which is situated right behind CM's camp office. And I will request my camera person to come just a little further and show that some sort of construction and demolition work is currently going on here to make way for CM's area to be expanded. The houses of IAS officers, judges, were directed to be vacated so that CM's residence, the area surrounding his residence and office area could be expanded.
The AAP has not just raised the old structure but expanded the CM residential complex from 4.75 acres to a massive 7.2 acres. For this, IAS officers and judges were evicted by the DJP to bring 8 flats and 2 sarkari bungalows into the fold of the CM house.
this blueprint which will show the area which is going to be redeveloped and built into a larger chief ministerial complex. Now this is where the chief minister resides currently. This is the chief minister's office, his camp, and this is the area that he currently occupies. I'm going to grade it for you. The blueprint shows that instead of this area, which roughly comes to about 4.7 acres, they're going to expand that area and take over the other residential areas which are around it, which happens to be 2 bungalows and 8 flats. All of that have been vacated. So from 4.7 acres, this entire area is going to be incorporated into one chief ministerial complex. What does that come to? That comes to roughly 7.2 acres.
Times Now also access eviction notices served to those shunted out to make more space to house the chief minister. Years back, Mr. Kejriwal talked about humility and fiscal prudence, but today the same man has raised an entire street to build himself this killer of vanity.
Viewers, there was a time when 5 rooms were too much. In 2014, they were too much. 9 years ago, they were too much for Mr. Kejriwal. And he says, my supporters, my voters, my own colleagues don't want me to live in this 5-room mansion. Today, viewers, today, 4 acres is not enough to house Mr. Kejriwal's persona. Viewers, how did this happen? What does this say? Does power corrupt absolutely? That's what Lord Acton once said, didn't he, viewers? How can a man who in 2014 said 5 rooms too much for me, I'm an Aadmi, I want to live like you, today think that 4 acres is not enough, he needs 7 acres?